work today. Let's continue building this positive energy as we welcome SGI USA youth member, Ellie Austin, who will share her story of standing up as a lion of justice.
My name is Ellie Austin. I am so grateful to be here with you today to share with you how this practice has helped me overcome immense struggling and become happy. When I was 12 years old, a boy at school asked me to go out with him. I said no, figuring that was the end of it. Unfortunately, he was unable to take the rejection, and he began to harass me and continued to do so for years. By our sophomore year of high school, his harassment became severe. He started threatening to kill me, yelling it at school, writing it on lockers, calling my house night after night to yell at me, "I'm going to kill you." Using his influence as a popular football player, he convinced my friends to exclude me from our social circles. Suddenly, no one would talk to or even look at me. The fall of our sophomore year, he spent every Friday night egging his house with his football friends. At school, their girlfriends would threaten to beat me up. My parents filed a complaint with the school district, but that only made things worse. I was blamed for getting the boys in trouble and became even more of an outcast. The boys started physically assaulting me after this, and I had no safe place to be at school. Because the school administration was unwilling to protect me, I went into independent study, where I spent the rest of high school alone. I was depressed and became increasingly isolated. I felt deeply ashamed about what had happened to me and that I had not stood up for myself, and I felt like I was to blame. I was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, and anxiety. To cope, I developed an eating disorder, abused alcohol, and started cutting myself. I regularly thought about committing suicide. But I glimpsed the possibility of a different life when a few years later, my mom's friend introduced me to Nichiren Buddhism and chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. I was desperate to change my life, and I was tired of being miserable, so I tried Buddhism. In 2006, I began my practice and I received the Gohonson. Unfortunately, soon after, I let a boyfriend discourage me from practicing Buddhism, and I disconnected from the SGI. I thought that if I could become successful, that was all I needed to forget about my painful past. I spent the next few years numbing the pain with alcohol and white-knuckled through, eventually earning a law degree on a full scholarship, but continuing to suffer from debilitating anxiety and depression. After law school, I moved back in with my parents to the same place where I had been victimized. It was re-traumatizing being there again, and I began to rely on my self-destructive coping mechanisms again. But it was at this crucial moment that I reconnected with my mom's friend and the SGI. I was finally ready to stop my endless cycle of suffering. I began chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo consistently and took on responsibility in the SGI as a young women's leader. I wanted to encourage other young women to overcome their struggles. I chanted to break free from the chains of my past. I chanted to feel self-worth. Encouraged by SGI President Ikeda's guidance that every single person has a unique mission, I chanted to find my place in the world. Through my sincere prayers, I began to see through the veil of shame that I had been wearing for 15 years. Chanting helped me start believing deep in my life that I was worthy, that I did not deserve what had happened to me, and that I could be happy. As my practice expanded, so did my life. I found an incredible partner who became my husband and who is here supporting me today. I got a job as a school law attorney, and I was being paid more than I'd ever made. I continued struggling with trauma symptoms, including panic attacks and flashbacks, but I was determined to break through with my Buddhist practice. 2 years ago, we were living out of state, and a friend told me about a job at her school law firm. The job meant a pay bump and a promotion, but there were 2 catches. First, the job was back where I'd grown up, a place filled with traumatic memories and the same people who had abused me. Second, the job meant I had to represent my old school district. I knew I had to rely on my Buddhist practice to make the best decision for my life. Praying before the Kohonson, I felt and I saw clearly that moving back home was not a defeat. It was an opportunity to finally heal from my past. It was through my dedicated prayers and causes in this organization that I awakened to my mission as an attorney to end sexual harassment and bullying in schools. I realized that this was the perfect job to combat injustice in the same community where I had been victimized. I took the job and moved back to California almost 2 years ago. I am proud to report that I now train hundreds of school and community college administrators all over Northern California, including the administrators from my old school district, in their legal obligations to stop and remedy sexual harassment and bullying. I also investigate allegations of sexual harassment and make sure that victims are protected and perpetrators are held accountable. As part of my healing process, and as a result of my Buddhist practice, I have encountered wonderful therapists who were able to help me overcome my depression and anxiety and cure my PTSD symptoms. I am no longer a victim of my past. Chanting Nam-myoho Renge Kyo engraves in my life the belief that while I did not deserve what happened to me, it's my responsibility not to let it defeat me or define me. As a lion of justice, I vow to continue fighting until all schools become models of humanism, protecting and valuing each child's precious life. Thank you so much.